at 865. Strictly reserves the sale of goods and services in the market areas for Ghanaians and Ghanaian-owned enterprises only. Moreover, Section 27, 1A of the GIPC Act prohibits foreign nationals from engaging in petty trading, hawking, or selling goods in a stall or at any place. PC also urges all businesses with any foreign ownership, no matter how small, to register with the center as mandated by law. Now, the center calls on all stakeholders to comply with this directive. Our colleague Christopher Amar, who is our Northern and Savannah regional correspondent. Christopher, hello, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning, Ellen. I'm doing well by the grace of God. Yourself?
We're doing okay. And good to hear your voice. And thank you for joining us on the program. Just want to find out initially how you are doing, how you're faring, given everything that you have also witnessed over the last few days.
Yeah, so Ellen, I'm doing good. When I got into the Sola community in the heat of the tension, I was very much afraid. But with a few days I have stayed here, I've come to get used to the tensions, especially seeing people fleeing the conflict zones and coming. You feel like probably it is getting closer to you, but we thank God that we are still alive and kicking.
Certainly, and now we know that there is a curfew that has been imposed.
Yes, certainly, Ellen. Yesterday, after the Interior Minister's announcement of the curfew, the people actually shared their sentiments about the imposition of the curfew on the two communities, that is Bole and Sola. Now, even though they were not happy about the situation, but they had no option than to comply. Some of them have indicated they are going to hold press conferences today, registering their displeasure over the imposition of the curfew on these two communities. But all in all, I would say that the compliance level yesterday, even though it was the first day and the announcement came in late in the afternoon, but the people actually complied. The security agencies also ensured that they complied. Yesterday in the Sola community, as early as 6:10, everybody was indoors. The few people you see are yesterday the gender minister, the regional minister, and other security personnel were in town to assess the situation, especially at the Sola police station. So these were the only people you saw in town. Then you know that the Sola community happens to be a place that if you are going to Wa, you have to pass through Sola. If you are going to Bole, you have to pass through Sola. So we saw some of the vehicles moving through the town. I don't know whether in the course of the curfew hours, maybe in the course of the days to come, if the curfew is not lifted anytime soon, probably we may see the security personnel stopping these vehicles and allowing them to sleep until the curfew hours are over. Maybe that can happen, but for now, they are allowing the vehicles to pass through the community. In the Bole community as well, similar incident happened. The compliance level is okay because yesterday when we got there, people were complying with the curfew directives. And so they are not happy though. Businesses are affected, Sola and Bole, the hub of business in the western part of the Savannah region. But yesterday, people had to sleep very early, and so it was a challenge for them.
Certainly, because it's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew that we're dealing with. Now, yesterday, you made us aware that there were many people who had made their way to the police station, mothers, young children. It had devolved into a bit of a crisis. Now, how have the humanitarian organizations that stepped in been able to address these challenges of food, adequate shelter, and all of that?
Yes, so first of all, I'll start with shelter. I would say it's not the best because even the tents provided by the Red Cross Society, I counted about 12 of them, and you see more of the children packed in these tents. Yesterday, in one tent, for instance, I counted over 20 of them in a tent, and so they had to just struggle to lie and have their sleep. Now, their mothers did not get tents to sleep in, so they have to sleep in the open. And it's, looking at the weather now, it's not good for them. Some of them with their little children have to sleep outside with their little children. You talk about issues of mosquito, you talk about the unbearable weather conditions, which is very, very bad for their health. Now, you also talk about the issues of food and water. Now, for food, because the gender minister through the Ghana School Feeding Program is providing them with some food supplies. We also have the Sawla-Tuna-Kalba District Assembly through the DC ensuring that they are fed. We also have some individuals in the community also cooking and bringing the food to serve them. We also have the member of parliament for the area also giving some money for food to be prepared and distributed to these people. So for food and water, even though it's not enough to reach the numbers we are seeing there, but I must say that they are getting some food coming in. The general minister has indicated that today they are going to ensure that they get more supplies to be given to them. Talk about health, it is very bad because the sanitation situation is bad. They defecate outside, they urinate, they do everything in the open, which is terrible at that place. The Red Cross Society have also indicated to me that where they are at the police station is not a good grounds for them. Aside the safety issues we are talking about, when it comes to getting a place for people who are seeking refuge, the police station is not a good place. So they will have to think about moving them to a different place and when the tensions calm down, then they can go back to their communities.
Certainly, a crisis indeed. Christopher, hold the line for me. Let me also introduce into the conversation Honorable Salisu B. Erube Isifu. Honorable, how close am I to the original pronunciation?
Pardon me?
I was asking how close I was to the original pronunciation of your full name.
Yes, you are very close.
Okay, I'll take that. 8 over 10, I hope.
7 over 10.
All right. Accepted. Honorable, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us on the program. We want to find out, first of all, what triggered this imposition of the curfew in Sawla-Tuna-Kalba?
The decision has been taken by national security and communicated to us all by the Ministry of Interior. And I believe firmly that the killing of people, not possibly in the open, but we were able to identify some bodies that might have necessitated the imposition of the curfew. The imposition of the curfew might have also been necessitated by the fact that it is spreading to other parts of the district of Sawla-Tuna-Kalba and to Bole district as well. We know the epicenter which ignited this type of problem is at Oningiri. And we are equally aware that at the first instance, before everybody would now come to the true realization of how severe it was, 5 people lost their lives. But subsequent to that, we have deployed quite a number of security men from all the areas. But it is equally true that the Sawla-Tuna-Kalba district is a very large district in terms of geographical landmass. The Bole district is also a very large district in terms of geographical landmass. So the number of security men deployed, despite the fact that their number is appreciable, the extent to which they will be at every corner is challenged. And when you get reports of attack at one corner, you will be compelled to rush to that part because you don't have the men to be in all the communities in the district. So it is possibly an effort to contain the spiraling of this issue of killing that has necessitated the imposition of this curfew.
Right.
Albeit for a considerable time, but I'm very sure that if there is a halt to all those activities, the Minister of Interior would lift that curfew and bring back life to normalcy in the districts of Damong, Bole, and then Sawla-Tuna-Kalba.
Right.
I must say also that the curfew so imposed is covering the entirety of the district of Bole and the entirety of the district of Sawla-Tuna-Kalba. Let me reiterate the fact that the conditions for this curfew is both day and night for certain aspects. In fact, it is at 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. where no one is supposed to move. But there are further restrictions on one, the number of people to ride motorbikes in the two areas. It is provided that there should not be a pinion rider. One person, one motorbike riding, either in the day or in the night. In the night, you have no other option but to be in your abode because from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., you cannot move. The other requirement is that nobody should be seen carrying any weapon of any sort, whether it is a gun, a cudgel, a machete, or any offensive weapon. That is also part of the restriction.
Right.
The other part of the restriction of this order is to the effect that there are traditional war dresses are not supposed to be worn by anybody. If you are wearing it, the security agencies are likely to accost you and demand you to take it out. The reason being that people get motivated by what they are wearing as traditional bulletproof, and in that instance can possibly go and visit mayhem in one way or the other on their colleagues. The ultimate reason for this imposition of curfew by the Minister of Interior is to protect the lives of the area that is engulfed in this. And it's the ultimate benefit of all of us, albeit some minimal inconvenience is caused. But the intent, I'm pretty sure, is to contain the situation and bring back life to normalcy. This is the reason I suggest, I guess,
certainly,
which might have led to the imposition of the curfew.
Right. And how are you coordinating with local traditional authorities in this particular matter?
Yes, we have spoken to Jera, the king and overlord of the entirety of the Savannah region and Gonjaland. Let me reiterate the fact that the Yigbonwe jurisdiction in terms of land and the area under control is bigger than Savannah region. But the entirety of Savannah region, no inch of any land is there in Savannah region without it being under the control of the Yigbonwe. Yigbonwe, in exercising that power, has appointed paramount chiefs and other sub-chiefs to be in charge. So anybody who will be given any parcel of land anywhere in Savannah region, you must acquire it through the chief, and who are representatives of the king or overlord of Gonja. So we've spoken to him, and we have also made attempts to speak to the various chiefs who are ambassadors of Bolawara on the ground, controlling some of the communities. And we've also engaged the youth, and we've spoken to them. It is our hope that they would all listen to our advice and be able to come to a common dialogue. We've made efforts to get the Prefor Youth Association leadership. We've spoken to them. We wanted them to even come to a common place where we can engage them more. But they have also raised some security concerns because their safety ought to be protected and they can't be guaranteed of their safety.
Right.
Which I actually agree with them to some extent, because you might not know when somebody would like to take advantage of this situation and create mayhem. So they are talking among themselves and talking to their own people on the ground, and we are getting a headway through this.
Right. Because I was going to ask about
imposing the security men on them and enforcing some level of security on the ground. But that is just to contain the situation. The most permanent solution will be dialogue, constructive dialogue between the feuding factions. And I call on the leadership of all the youth associations, the Prefor Youth Association and the Gonjaland Youth Association, to engage. And I actually plead with all of them to disarm in one way or the other. But we've also strengthened the border controls. The suspicion is that there are some Prefor youth from the Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire who cross over to do this type of mayhem and creating a situation on their kinsmen. But unfortunately, to some inflaming editing of some videos on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram and TikTok is also adding up to the flaming of passions. I've seen some video whereby somebody is lying down and then one person using a hammer and breaking the head, and it is said to be a Gonja man that they are doing. But meanwhile, it is AI generated. That video is not from the Savannah region, and it's not any of those who unfortunately lost their life. So some of these things inflame passions. I've also seen a video of somebody who is talking in Prefor on TikTok, claiming to be the paramount chief and overlord of ABCD, and that they want to annex which land and which other land, and which cannot be true, and it's not true. And I'm sure that no Prefor is making any attempt whatsoever to claim any inch of land in the Savannah region as his or hers, because they know that there are settlers in all these areas, unless the ones that they have gone to acquire from the chief, to which they have exercised the right of whatever term that the chief might have given them, whether leasehold or whatever it is. This is the situation on the ground.
Right.
So I think that it behoves on all to talk to their people and to be clear and open in the necessary discussions, and that will help in this engagement that we've all started.
Certainly, Honorable. Thank you so much for those perspectives. Let me also introduce into the conversation at this time Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister, Honorable Agnes Na Momo Latte. Honorable, hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you're well.
Yes, by God's grace, I'm well.
Thank you for joining us on the program. I know you have a big task on your hands at the moment. We want to find out what measures are in place to protect women and children during this unfortunate incident that we are confronted with, especially during this curfew that has been imposed at this time.
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to thank and appreciate all who have been on the ground and have been helping since this incident occurred. In terms of protection, I think that the most important thing is to get the people to safety. And those that were identified as being very vulnerable to attack have been brought to various camps, and then they are being protected there. The other thing is to look at the other side of the safety, which is providing shelter, food, and clothing. And that is also being taken care of. The Ministry of Gender is providing food. For this past few days, we've been taking care of the meals. By the coordination or with the coordination that we've been able to do, I've spoken to the other sectors that are involved in this management of this situation, and they are all bringing support. So hopefully today we'll see a more structured kind of intervention. And so as we speak, the Interior Ministry, I contacted them and they've assured me that help is on the way. They are bringing food supplies, food items, and then our Great Ministry is also giving us some food items to be able to cook. Some are at places where they can cook for themselves. So for them, when you give them some of the raw food items, they can fend for themselves. They don't feel safe to go out there. In fact, who will be at the market at such a time to buy food from? And so they will also get the raw food items to take care of themselves. Then we have the health aspect. And for the health, I've spoken to the health minister and his director general, and they are reaching out to the region. And today we will see some first aid provision, because we have pregnant women there, we have lactation mothers there, we have people with all manner of conditions, health conditions that need attention. And so that's why we've also put measures in place for them to come. We are collaborating with the regional minister, the district chief executive, and NADMO on the ground to ensure that this situation is brought under control. We've also had a plan to put in place some mobile toilet facilities and then water facilities to ensure that the place is kept, hygienic, so that there will not be any outbreak of any health issue. And so basically, this is where we are. And we've also not just done these things, but also appealed to all the parties involved in this conflict to come to the negotiating table, sit and talk, and ensure that there is peace. We've made a passionate appeal to the chief, and he's been generous enough to share his thoughts on what is happening and willing to ensure that there's calm and peace. And so we want to thank everybody who has been cooperating and collaborating with us so far.
And what support is available for children who are now out of school due to this violence?
For now, the most important thing is to ensure their safety in the areas that I earlier mentioned, from attacks, ensure that they are well fed, they are healthy, and then also secured wherever they are, and then they have clothing. We are hoping and trusting that this thing will not, prolong unnecessarily. And we will make provisions as time goes on. We will look at the emerging issues and then, apply the necessary interventions as we go on. But school will be reopening soon. So it's one of the bases for our appeal so that the children don't miss out. Should this, in fact, God forbid, prolong, we will have to look at the situation as a longer temporary staging place where we have to bring the children together to see to their other needs, same as other vulnerable groups at the place. But we've actually segregated them: persons with disabilities, pregnant women, and lactating mothers, and then people with other health conditions, and then the children. And so we are able to administer interventions based on that. Thank you.
And I wanted to find out what challenges are faced in implementing social protection in conflict zones, especially in this situation that you have at the moment.
It's the coordination. It's the coordination because I tell people that because gender is a cross-cutting issue, you find gender everywhere, in every sector. Even though they are gender desk officers, they are not so proactive. And so when things happen in the various sectors, the first point of call is the desk office in the sector. But we don't have that. So you see that everything is placed at the doorstep of the gender ministry, which is not bad. But I think we can be a bit more proactive if the various sectors, which is where a lesson we are taking for some time now, and we are going to work with all the sectors to ensure that their gender desk officers are not just nominal, but they are active enough to respond to the social protection issues within, and then the gender issues within our country. And so we are working hand in hand to ensure that this is done. The coordination, the response to, or the quick response to issues of gender or abuse or any form of vulnerability is not too quick as we would expect it, but we are working towards a desired situation where we can actually proactively respond to issues that we are doing now.
Certainly. Honorable, thank you so much for your time and for speaking with us and also outlining the measures that are currently in place to address this devastating issue. And I'm sure we'll be in touch in due course. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honorable Dr. Agnes Namo-Molate is the Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister. But we still have Honorable Isifu, Savannah Regional Minister, on the line. We wrap up with him on this one. Honorable, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes, a few more questions and then we wrap up on this particular segment. What monitoring systems are currently in place then to ensure compliance? I know the curfew has only been in place since yesterday. Have there been any persons who have flouted the directives? And if so, what are the measures that are put in place to check this?
In fact, there has been absolute compliance for now, despite it being the first day of the imposition of curfew. Usually, when curfew is imposed on the first day, there are people who, for inadequate information, they might not even be aware that the curfew is imposed. And there are some who will try to flout it by virtue of the fact that their daily routine has been cut short and they don't want to come to grips with it. But this public pronouncements were made on our various radio stations, and we have followed it up with the security men actually patrolling the major towns and communities, and especially the suspected areas that we reasonably think that there may be an outbreak. And from the information that I have picked, everything is in order and people have duly complied with the curfew imposition. So we hope and pray that it will continue to get that kind of compliance. As and when the situation improves, the Ministry of Interior would review the curfew hours, possibly for the better for our people.
Certainly. Honorable, thank you so much for your time this morning and also for putting some clarity to the issues. And I'm sure we'll be able to catch up as and when there are more updates on this issue. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine.
Let's also now talk to Dr. Victor Doke. He's a peace and security expert. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you're also doing fine.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We've been monitoring what's happening in the Sawla-Tuna-Kalba district. Very unfortunate scenes indeed. The issue we can say has devolved into a humanitarian crisis. But what would you say are the underlying factors that often cause these recurring regional conflicts such as this?
Well, the underlying factors are multifaceted in many reasons. One, conflict over land, and land goes with resources. It could be chieftaincy. It could be just misunderstanding in regards to simple boundary lines. So it's a lot. In this regard, land is the issue. Factions or aspects involved in the conflict go to every extent to have their legitimacy in regards to the rightful owners, indigenous, and migrant settlers, all have a claim to what is at stake, being the land and resources. And most of the times it comes with a lot of, effects, as we are seeing, clashes, the vulnerable being affected most, internally displaced persons. And then the state will have to come in, implement what they know best to curb imminent, immediate threats, which is a curfew imposed. The security services have to enforce a curfew. The RECSEC or NUSEC would have to now review curfew hours when calm settles, for them to review curfew hours so that businesses can thrive, so people can also move about and go to their farms and then trade. Now, beyond the curfew hours, we realize that sustained engagement with the two factions or all factions involved in the conflict is somewhat challenging. We have institutions such as the National Security Institution, i.e., the Regional House of Chiefs, National House of Chiefs, and then we also have the state agency that is responsible with regards to conflict resolution management and prevention, National Peace Council. And of course, if we're talking about regions, areas where it's not even reachable areas, and then areas that are not easy to be reached. So how do we resource the FTC to reach these areas to conduct these consultations and education? How do we engage civil society organizations, those enclaves, and support them to be facilitators for the two sides? The indigenous conflict resolution mechanisms, how we thought about it, just like how we have a mechanism that executes conflict, and we have committees in all these conflict areas. We are talking about the Equator South, Soko, and now this. So how do we enforce the resolution mechanisms that would enhance the people to come together and propose solutions best known to them for it to be implemented? I think we are just getting comfortable with the fact that the curfews, stop the clashes momentarily, but it does not solve the issue. After curfews, you need to have sustained engagement with the actors to conduct a proper conflict analysis that will bring you an idea about the root cause, the proximate causes or factors, and then what triggers the mode of what action with regards to the violence, the mode of clashes, which weapons are being used and whatnot, where are they getting the weapons from? So all this implies or requires a very holistic approach. Now, how can we make use of the regional House of Chiefs? We have eminent chiefs there who are knowledgeable. Can we then build their capacity with regards to how to resolve chieftaincy conflict, land disputes, with the support of the appropriate state agencies? Now, you assign all these chiefs who you have built capacity. You map out the conflict in every region. So, for example, if it is in the OT region, you map out the conflict in Kwanta South. If it is in the northern region, you map out all conflicts in the northern region. You assign the task to these eminent chiefs which you have built their capacity, plus mandated agencies like the NPC and other state agencies, and then we find ways to resolve the conflict. By that, we try to manage the conflict in itself whilst we are looking at addressing for the long term. And if not, we implement the curfews and then we leave it at that without engaging the side, thinking that the elders or the chiefs, okay, or MUSEC or REXEC would be able to resolve or address the conflict. Then I think we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
Now, interestingly, you mentioned community engagement. We were just speaking with the Savannah Regional Minister, and he says even on that front, the youth are reluctant to meet in certain areas because they're worried for their safety and security. Now, how does trust in security services affect peace outcomes? There seems to be the narrative that even the residents are not so trusting of the security personnel deployed to the area.
It's very worrying. Now, the reason why most of the times the people or indigents, the youth or community members find it difficult to trust the security services is because they represent the state. And now, most of the times, conflict that we have said to be what somewhat politicized. They may not be with this particular conflict. But the idea that the state is coming in through state agencies or city agencies, people already have some perception when it does not benefit them. So the curfews imposed, for example, who is being affected most and who is not. So they look at all those things and then conclude and then the state directly, then the state may be supporting one function and mistra. Activities also of the security agencies not being able to understand the cultural and traditional dynamics of the area in which they are going to operate also amounts to some level of mistrust. Okay, we've had places where personnel have destroyed statues, personnel have engaged in exporting members to a market where there's conflict and the other side feels that they are supporting the other side. So all these things. So I always say anytime we send our troops in any area, we need to prep them, we need to enhance their knowledge with regards to the area in which they are going to know the customs, the do's and the don'ts. So they will only have to stick to their mandate, respect the laws, respect the traditional authorities, and enforce the law with regards to the curfews and then protect lives and property. Where arrests should be made, the arrests should be made. There should be neutrality.
Right.
And when all these things are played out well, there will be some level of trust from the community to the state security because they need it. It's a collaborative effort. The youths know the in and out of the area. You need informants, you need to engage them, okay, to get the information, intelligence for you to act on. And if this does not happen, then you always be surprised by elements.
Thank you for that, Doc. And to round up the conversation, I'm not sure if this is one that you're able to answer, or if it's even a realistic question, but what are realistic peace timelines based on our past experiences as a country? With this particular conflict that we're seeing, what would be your estimation of time within which it will take us to see some progress being made as far as peace building is concerned?
Right. To be able to, come to a conclusion that you have a timeline for a particular conflict. That is why you need to do a comprehensive conflict analysis. Analysis is just like conducting a prognosis. to know what the problem is, and then now you apply the right antidotes. If you are not able to do that, it's very difficult for you to put a timeline. So when you do the analysis and the mediator or negotiator has to come in, they all factor all these things plus the historical antecedents, whatever causes the triggers and whatnot, the actors, have they taken entrenched positions or whatnot. All these things would have to be factored in to determine how long. So placing a specific timeline on the conflict, you will be doing yourself a lot of harm because any dynamics can change the conflict. For example, we have in Boko, where February, I think 2024 or 3 or so, the statement of the rival chief, that changed the dynamics. Now, without that incident, you would have been able to ascertain that what is happening with the 2-4 mediation, minus the estimate of that chief, they would have gotten somewhere. That dynamics has what changed the whole trajectory of how mediations are going to go. So if you relate that, then the timeline would obviously have been extended.
Right.
So to place a specific timeline, you need to consider all these things to arrive at a better conclusion.
Certainly. Doc, thank you so much for your time this morning and for also lending your expertise to the discussions this morning. Always grateful. Dr. Victor Doke is a peace and security expert, joined us this morning to also put some flesh on the bones on this particular matter.
3FM 90.